Welcome to another edition of Kittitian Heartbeat, the pulse of the tourism industry. I'm your host, Andre Huey, and today we're coming to you from the office of the CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. And as you guessed it, our guest this week is the newly appointed CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Mr. Ellison Thompson. Mr. Thompson, welcome to another edition of Kittitian Heartbeat.
Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Thompson, you recently traveled. Where did you go? What was the purpose of your trip?
Okay, I went to Fort Lauderdale, San Antonio, Texas, and New York. So in Fort Lauderdale, we spent time with the advertising agency, and we're putting together a new brand and content shoot for St. Kitts. The stuff that we have now needs refreshing, and so that was part of that discussion. Then we went on to San Antonio, where we met with airlines at Roots America. We met about 12 airlines. We spoke to them about flying into St. Kitts, what their schedules were into St. Kitts. Some of them already have schedules into St. Kitts, and others we want them to fly into St. Kitts. And then we were in New York, where we met with the PR agency and also the team members who do the sales in the United States. So it was really a very packed week.
Yeah. Roots Americas is a very important event for St. Kitts tourism. How was Roots America for St. Kitts?
It was interesting. One of the things that we learned was that the airlines that have pilots don't have planes. The ones that have planes don't have pilots. And also a number of them are also looking at how they are beefing up their domestic routes. Now, the thing with St. Kitts is where we're located. We take an aircraft out for the full day if they fly here and fly back. So what the airlines are doing is doing the shorter domestic routes. They're able to put in 3-4 rotations on that same aircraft. There's only one on St. Kitts. So we tend to get the days that they're flying into us when there's not that much demand in the domestic market. So that's kind of like the challenges that we've been facing. But the good news is Americans giving us daily service this summer, and actually twice weekly on Saturday. So we're actually very, very pleased with that. That's a huge improvement over what we had last summer. So that's really cool. We also are getting Charlotte. Charlotte is coming back June to August. So that's a great development there. As we know, Air Canada, they stopped flying in January, and that was nothing to do with St. Kitts, but it was to most of the sun destinations, and that was actually because the Canadian government was stopping all non-essential travel because of the Omicron variant of COVID. But they're looking to come back in November, so we're going to be working very closely with them to make that a reality.
So what is the outlook for airlift for St. Kitts?
Well, what we really want to do is get back to 2019 levels, where we had a very robust service. So that's where we have to aim to get back at. So there's a couple of things that's going to have to work in parallel. One, we've got to increase the destination desire for St. Kitts and do some more sales and marketing with the airlines so that they see that we're great partners and that we are able to get the volume that we needed. Some of the challenges that we do have, though, is the room stock. We really need an all-inclusive in St. Kitts. I think that will help us in terms of anchoring programs and bringing lift and new programs into the island.
Finally, what's the state of tourism for St. Kitts? What's the outlook for our industry here as it relates to tourism?
So I think we've not done as well with the stayover, and that's where we have lots of room for improvement. So what we want to do is to make sure that we're working with the partners, the hotels, the ground operators, and how do we synergize our efforts to make sure that we're all speaking with the same voice, and us together combining our efforts, then that gives us better penetration in the market and a bigger bang for the buck. So from the tourist authority side, our job is to create that destination desire. It's up to the hotels to give us the offers so that when people see us, they want to come to us, they have the offer so they can purchase. So that's kind of where we are at now. And part of what we want to do and intend to do is to make sure that we have closer cooperation with the private sector and that we are all in sync with what we're doing.
Mr. Thompson, thank you so much for being a part of today's show, and the information you shared has been quite interesting and I'm sure valuable to our stakeholders and to those of our viewers as well.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, our viewers, for watching another edition of Kittitian Heartbeat, the pulse of the tourism industry. I was your host, Andre Huey. coming to you from the office of the CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. Join us next week for another exciting edition of the show.